This is IA Forward, your playbook for success as an independent insurance agent. Here to help you knock it out of the ballpark are your hosts, Shane Tatum and Tonya Lead.
Welcome to IA Forward. Shane, can you believe that it is Halloween week?
I am ready for Halloween week weather to show up in Texas. I need some fall. It's extremely hot, and this one cool morning every 2 weeks is like this big tease for us. We really need fall to be in line with Halloween. We need it to feel like fall while Halloween week is going.
I've always had this theory that when the county or parish fair happens in the fall, that is the week you get false fall. It is fair week here in Pensacola, and it was 52 degrees this morning. So I dressed for that. Wow. And now it's like 89 degrees outside, and I am not dressed for that. But that's okay. But it is fair week here, so we are having a nice little snap.
I'm not jealous of my northern friends in January, but I am jealous of our northern friends in October and some of November. I'm a guy that loves fall. Like, you know how much I love Christmas. Watching my wife transform our house into this Christmas amazing thing, and I love it. I love watching it. I don't actually do anything. I just love watching it. But there's just something about the fall and autumn, the foliage, the leaves changing, but we just don't get that in the South. We don't get it the same way that our friends do in the northern part of the country. There's something about this romantic feeling of college campuses in the fall. That's just me. I love the idea of seeing college campuses specifically in the fall. As we've traveled around the country, one of the things we've done is go walk around college campuses.
Being from Louisiana, when you look at college campuses in the fall, they're 98 degrees with the sun baking your brains out.
That's why you have to go north into other parts of the country and see what's happening. But that's just, it's kind of back to some of the classic 80s movies, Oxford Blues or various college-based movies. And they generally had this fall type setting in them. So maybe it's just kind of a childhood thing for me.
Hot or cold, it's football season, so I am happy.
Absolutely.
An interesting topic we have today, something that could very well be affecting your independent agency, going to be affecting independent agencies around the country. The Trusted Choice brand has been purchased by Momentum Edge.
Yeah, that was news to me. Probably a great play by Momentum. I don't know them. Any apologies to that organization for my lack of knowledge. To speak from the trustedchoice.com background, I am pretty familiar with that because it has had a long tug-of-war relationship in the independent agency space, owned and created originally by the Independent Agents and Brokers of America, collaboration with some carrier partners, and it was this original effort. I really think early to mid 2000s, somewhere in that realm. It was this sort of foot forward for the independent agencies in the country to have this cohesive brand. What's interesting about it is there was a split among independent agencies in the country about what to do with this thing. And there was some heavy money put into it at sponsorship level by our carrier partners. Stuff like that can bring a sour taste to people's mouths because it's like, are we getting anything from it, or is it becoming a bureaucracy type scenario? And I think that's what ended up happening, which is always what happens in a lot of nonprofit type scenarios, associations around various industries. They're really good at lobbying, at political action committees, at education. They're really good at those things. And kind of when they start stepping into this perceived marketing, sales, front-end branding, that's where things always tend to go sideways. And that's kind of what happened. There was this split within the association of, why shouldn't we just drop independent agent and start calling ourselves trusted choice agents? No, independence is in our name. It's who we are. We are independent agents, and we can never drop the independent insurance agents and association label, the big I, so to speak. It just started out as a friction point. What are we trying to accomplish here? I think it was really a valiant effort to try to give the independent agency system a front end during the dawn of the internet age of online shopping and web-based stuff. If you look back at its history, it was a response to the fear that the agent was going to be erased because the internet was going to replace the agent. It was that effort by the association to go forward with a front-end online shopping experience for the consumer. It never gained a lot of steam. It never really had enough traction. So it just became a money drain in a lot of cases for the association, which is probably why it ended up being sold to a private company who might do something with the actual asset. So now it becomes a domain that can be managed.
A little bit about Momentum. They are a CRM.
Gotcha. Obviously, they have a plan and a business model around why they're buying that, and probably lead generation scenario, probably a profit center around lead generation. They're going to add to whatever assets they have in that space. Great for them, and possibly for that segment of the independent agency channel that says, I need a better front end lead generation partner. It's not the focus of the association. And that's really a difficult thing that I can relate to. When you're an executive director of an association, you're trying to please all parties. You can't please everyone. And that is always going to be the challenge of the association type business. It's different for me, but it's got some similar scenarios. We run an agency network. I'm trying to help every single one of our partner agents, no different than Tonya and everyone else in our organization is. But we're also going to be faced with requests and ideas and things that we may not need to actually address. Everything doesn't have to be addressed. Every problem maybe shouldn't be solved. I think that's kind of what you see here is an asset got developed, something valuable got developed in the association, but the association wasn't focused on it because it's not their focal point. It's not their primary thing they were created for. So let's sell that asset, generate some funding for things we are focused on, and maybe let someone else who can be focused on it do something with it.
Let's talk about why it didn't work. Let's talk about the product itself and why it was probably different than what most independent agents are truly looking for.
I feel like I'm back in the hot seat on that question. This will probably have to fall under the Shane opinion category, but that's what we do here on IA Forward. We cast our opinions a little bit. It's the core function, it's the core mentality of the independent agency channel to create your own brand, to not be corporate, to not be a part of a brand. That's the exclusive channel. That's what the exclusive channel does. The exclusive channel agent sits under a gigantic common brand with that brand. It's like a franchise in a way. There's a front end marketing, branding, advertising component. The independent agency system doesn't do that. We are local small businesses around the country, just like the name says, independent. We are free of someone telling us what to do. Our carrier contracts lay out explicitly that the agency is the owner of the expirations of the business produced by the agency, which is different than the contracts of the exclusive agency system or the franchise organizations out there. And so part of the reason that it didn't work is because it attempted to take all this freedom of the independent agency system and put a layer of common brand in front of that and push agents to embrace that brand as some kind of commonality. And it was never going to work because that's not in the spirit of the channel. There's a reason why certain restaurants build their own brand. There's a difference in the uniqueness of some brands versus the mass brand appeal. And that's what Trusted Choice was trying to do. The independent agency channel and the association were trying to make all of this independence unite under a single umbrella. It's just not ever going to work that way. That's why the association failed at doing that. Our agency network follows that. We are not trying to help our partner agents with front-end sales. We are building everything for the back end support, the systems, the carrier relationship management. But as far as like, where do I get a lead from? We don't do that. That's not what we do. And it's not really something that I feel like we should ever get into, because I think it would go the way of Trusted Choice and the independent agency system.
I may or may not have slept at least 3 times since then. You told the story of the famous Shane Walmart survey.
Yep.
So I want you to share that with our new listeners, and then let's have this conversation from there.
Yeah. So many moons ago, I decided to do a one-to-one survey at Walmart one afternoon around this topic of independence. We were trying to figure out the basis of, why are you doing this, Shane? I needed to understand why independent agents and why the channel that I had fallen in love with as a 21-year-old, we struggled so much with consumer recognition, like being a collective consumer-based brand. I went to Walmart because that's what you do when you do a survey, at least pre-internet days or in the early 2000s. And I just went around Walmart and I said, hey, can I ask you a quick question? I'm doing a survey, insurance survey. And sure. And I had 10 people that I asked this question to. And I said, what does independent agent mean to you? And every time I asked that question, I got almost 100%. I think 9 out of 10 said, it sounds like it means that you're alone, that you're by yourself, that you're a single thing. What's really funny about that is, anybody that knows anything about the independent agency channel, we're about choice, multiple carriers offering options. So for me, that aha moment was, we're an independent agent and we know exactly what that means. We can give you options. We have choice. We have multiple carriers. We're not dictated to by a single brand. We work for the consumer, not for the company. All the consumers in my little Walmart survey told me the exact opposite. No one said choice. No one said multiple options. They were saying single, by yourself. Like, everything was kind of alluding to this polar opposite of what I thought they were going to say. And that's when I got on to this deal. Why don't we abandon Independent Agents Association and become the Trusted Choice Association? If we want to explain to the consumer that we're about choice and options, then why not take this fledgling thing you created with this easy to remember domain name, and let's rebrand and become the Trusted Choice Agents Association? That was heresy. That was like, look out. If this would have been Salem, I would have been deemed a witch. That's the first iteration that I've gone through in my career where it hit me that there was going to be a problem to ever get a group of independent agents of any sort to have commonality around brand, around frontline marketing, brand building, lead generation. It just wasn't ever really going to work.
People have such a misunderstanding of what an independent agent is. In our household, we bought our current house about 2.5 years ago, and I got put in charge of finding our insurance. At the time, Our company, Integra, did not offer homeowners insurance in the state of Florida. So I made some phone calls, sent some emails out, and carriers are so scarce in the state of Florida that many of the exclusive agents sell the exact same thing that independent agents do. When presenting carrier options to my husband, he said, well, if we have the same option to buy the policy from an independent person or from an Allstate agent, then let's buy it from the Allstate agent because we know it'll be better. And yes, we are still married. And yes, I explained to him what pays my side of all of the bills. He lives in a household with someone who does an insurance podcast for a living that is specifically for independent agents, and he didn't know the difference.
Because most people don't. We need to get on him a little bit for not listening to the podcast enough, but that's another issue.
My husband learned not to listen to me after my stints in radio because he just could not handle me talking about all of the dumb things that he did or the conversations that we had to everybody on the planet. So yeah, he does not ever listen to a podcast that we do because of my radio days.
In all fairness, Julie doesn't listen to the podcast much either because she hears me say these things all the time over breakfast, over coffee, over dinner. Unfortunately for her, she gets to hear this a lot. She doesn't feel like she needs to do it through the podcast platform as well. Daniel is our typical consumer that as agents we're after, and we're trying to figure out how to present ourselves in a professional way that we become the trusted advisor status. I mean, believe, like, and trust. BLT. That's everybody's goal. That's what this is coming down to. And it's why I've landed in the independent agency channel. It's a mantra, a hill to die on for me, because I believe we are the better option. I believe agents building their local brand is always going to be successful. They've been talking about the demise of the agent for 5 generations. Like, the agency model is dead. That goes back to the 70s. That goes back to the 80s. They've been talking about this for a long time. Not only is the independent agency model surviving, the independent agency model is thriving. Now, what is happening is the exclusive agency channel is shrinking. The independent agency channel is growing, and the direct channel is growing a little. We now, as the IA channel, own the majority of personal lines and the majority of commercial lines distribution in the United States. And so it's obviously working, but this idea of we've got to have this front end brand, not true. How do we overcome that for the consumer? What do we do about that? I love the idea of this army of local believe, like, and trust agents, individual brands. What makes you so trustworthy in your community is that you are in that community and you're everywhere that your consumers are, and you just become more valuable. I mean, I understand there's always going to be some level of consumer base in the United States, maybe the world, who are going to be attracted to a brand. All right, I'll give a plug for Duluth. I wear Duluth pants. I like them. They are good. I learned about them through their brand building, period. Do I feel the same way about my attorney or my CPA? Or if I wasn't in the independent agency channel, my insurance agent? No, it's not the same thing. And I believe that's where we have to continue to push ourselves, is into that trusted advisor space and not in that commodity space. They've been saying we're going the wayside because we're going to be a commodity. It's not true. It's more complicated to live in the world today with all the risk and all the things that we're faced with. Risk follows the growth of technology It follows everywhere. And when you're not having to push a single company's product, you can truly understand the need of the customer and present them an option. I think you're going to win. I think we're going to win. And I think it's obvious that we are winning.
This is a shift we made at Integra about 2 or 3 years ago. For the first few years of having our agency network, many of our agents coming on board with us were former Allstate agents. It was very important for them to feel as though they had a cohesive brand. So they went from being Bob Smith Allstate to being Bob Smith Integra. Over time, we realized that wasn't necessarily something everyone wanted. And we made the shift to saying, no, you're an independent agency. We want you to brand and do business your way. We no longer have that XYZ Integra. Each new partner is their own brand. And that's something we do that is really special, that is different from most of the network options out there.
We learned the same lesson that the association has learned. And initially, our prospect base was coming from the exclusive channel, a couple of different areas. They were so used to being underneath this massive multi-billion-dollar brand that the idea of moving to the independent channel, building their own independent agency, it felt so massively different. Even though their customers, their future customers, their previous customers, they really trusted the individual. They weren't necessarily trusting the brand. And so we started out, to Tonya's point, with this co-brand, this sort of we'll help them, we'll be front-end branded. That was really silly on my end in hindsight, because we were never going to compete in the space with the ad spending that was going on, that has continued to go on within the likes of State Farm and Geico and Progressive and Farmers and Allstate. We were never going to compete in that space. We were never going to be able to bring that type of branding to the table. I don't think the franchises can do that. You're working on commission dollars, not premium dollars. Geico can do it. State Farm can do it. They're the big established organizations, billions of dollars. We learned that the independent agents need to drive their own individual local brand in their community. And there was just nothing that we were going to be able to do necessarily to help the consumer understand who Integra was in Dallas or in Orlando. It was going to be much better for Nathan Clark to develop his brand in Orlando. And so we learned that lesson. Wait a minute. We're spending energy, dollars, capacity, trying to help and solve a problem that actually does not exist. And that's what the independent agency system was doing with Trusted Choice. You're trying to solve a problem that your agent base does not even believe exists. I was trying to solve a problem for a few agents in the beginning that the majority of agents actually did not want. Eliminated our co-brand, eliminated all of that process. And now we are a B2B agent-facing agency network that focuses our effort and energy on supporting the growth, the development, the starting of new independent agencies.
I no longer have to be the brand police, which is really nice.
It is really nice, because how do you get all these business owners? I know you can do it in franchise environment. Don't get me wrong. Like, I know McDonald's can do it. That's different. I just think the insurance model is so local and works so much better through that localized brand. It doesn't require that franchise type model that a McDonald's or a Chick-fil-A requires. Chick-fil-A could not be Chick-fil-A without being a franchise. Capital raising wise, it just wouldn't make sense. But they can make that chicken sandwich the same way a gazillion times every day because of the franchise system. The independent agency system, it's like a problem that doesn't exist. We're trying to solve a problem that doesn't exist. So allow that local brand to come through and allow that local brand to be exciting in the community. One of our partners, Adam Bamford Insurance in Prosper, Texas.
This is exactly where my brain's been going for like the last 5 minutes.
I know. Is that where your brain was going?
Absolutely.
Isn't that crazy? I remember my conversations with Adam in the beginning. He's done such an incredible job and built a strong agency. He was setting up his agency in a northern suburb of Dallas that was exploding in a population development way. Adam wanted to set up his agency to emulate the community. He wanted his logo to be green, and that's what the Prosper mascot and the school colors. And
he graduated from Baylor.
He graduated from Baylor, which all connected. And I'm just like, this is really good. When he's telling us this, it's actually one of the early kind of understanding that our co-brand and our original partner network idea for branding was not where we needed to be long term, because we wanted the Adams to be interested in us. We wanted to do business with the Adam Bamfords of the world. Adam brought his own brand into that community and has become the believe, like, and trust figure there. He's built his agency brand connected to his personal brand. He did not need us to confuse the consumer base. And I think that's what would happen if we would have stayed the course and kept trying to add our brown and reds and kept trying to do this thing. And we were never going to please everybody. Everybody was going to want to do their own thing. And Tonya was backed into a corner. This is the wrong color. You can't do that. It's just not good. Why try to solve things and fight things that you really don't need to solve? Adam has done an incredible job. And it's the brand that kept popping into my head. There's many more within our network. That's the one that stood out because it was one of the early scenarios for me to emulate his community, his personal background. He already had his logo in mind. Like, why stand in the way of that? And I think that's the connection point of why Trusted Choice was not going to work for the independent agency system.
You and I are both logophiles, and I don't remember the last time I actually looked up what the word independent means. So I looked at Merriam-Webster, and the definition is not subject to control by others, not requiring or relying on something else, self-directing, and this is my favorite, showing a desire for freedom or autonomy.
Yeah. That autonomy fits my survey from Walmart. Nobody said autonomous, but that's what they said. Every one of them. They didn't use that word, but that's the definition of what they said. We talk about that in our channel. Having the freedom to do business, both on the carrier side, the vendor side, the customer side, with whoever we want to do business with. And being able to do that is part of the freedom of that channel. There are some things that can be through commonality achieved, but I do not think it's the front end brand thing. I think the agency network world of helping an agent start from zero, that is our bread and butter. That's what we do. Traditional large brand insurance companies in the independent agency space, they're not structured to work with startup agencies. They're not structured with how to do that because they're one of 5 to 8 core brands within an independent agency. As an agency network, we bring all of those brands to the table at once. We bring the system to the table at once. And we help minimize a lot of the moving parts. But as far as like branding, marketing, who are you? That's where we stop. That's where we draw the line. Some don't. Some keep going. Franchises for sure keep going. We just don't do that. And I think that's very similar to our channel in and of itself.
If you're looking for an independent network that wants you to succeed, that wants you to have success, but understands that you still need the freedom to do business your way, we would love to talk to you. Reach out to us at Integra Partner Network. drop Shane Tatum or Tonya a message on LinkedIn or on other social channels. Let's have a conversation about how the Integra Partner Network can really help you.
We are growing, just continuing with the commercial there that Tonya did so well with. We are expanding. We have had a long, fantastic run in the South Central U.S., continue to grow that part of the country. We've expanded into the Southeast. We've expanded into the Midwest. Tonya is now our managing director in the Southeast, based out of beautiful Pensacola. And then we have Mike up in the Midwest, and Robbie's still here in the South Central. All very experienced, long-tenured people with our organization, and very excited about where we're headed, very excited about the next couple of years, what we're doing. You know, we're not for everybody. I keep referring internally to us as more of a boutique agency network. We don't have to work with everybody, but we are looking for people that share our values, that understand, you know, kind of the world through the lens, the way we see the independent agency channel. I think that's a winner. That's how every business model should work. You should be focused on who your people are, who you are, and how to grow your business. We would love to talk to you. What you hear on IA Forward is exactly what you would hear with inside our partner network.
I'm going to leave us today with this quote from Albert Camus. Freedom is nothing but a chance to be better.
Attitude's a choice. Make a great one.
Bye, y'all.
At the Integra Partner Network, we understand that carrier access is the key to your agency's success. That's why Integra offers direct access to top-rated personal and commercial carriers, ensuring your agency thrives in today's challenging market. And with our comprehensive resources, profit sharing and bonus opportunities, technology and peer support, all while you retain 100% of your book with no penalties to exit. Integra is ready to empower you and your agency to find sustained growth. Find your way to Integra. Visit IntegraPartnerNetwork.com today. That's IntegraPartnerNetwork.com.